All right, welcome to Module 7 of Mastering Google Ads. Now, in this module, what I'm going to be taking you through is a series of lessons showing you the right way of how to set up each different type of Google Ads campaign. And what you'll also see in each of these lessons, you'll get a downloadable guide so you can follow along with the step-by-step process of setting up your campaigns. But what I wanted to do in this first lesson is to really give you an overall picture of when you should be using each type of Google Ads campaigns. What I'm going to start to introduce, and you'll see a lot of this through the remainder of the course, we're going to be talking about the top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel, and remarketing campaigns. And if you've been involved in any type of marketing at all, is obviously what we're looking at here is when you're at the top of the funnel, these are people who are earlier in the buying process, so they may not even know your brand or they may not even know your product or service. Middle of funnel, they're kind of moving down to a low level of interest of buying your brand or buying your product or service. Bottom of the funnel is when they're ready to buy. And then that remarketing is really about a reminder. So they've seen your product, they've gone through the services, they've gone to your website, but they haven't yet completed the purchase. That is the remarketing or the reminder part of the process. So what I really want to do is I just want to break out some top level ways of where you'd use each type of campaign. Now, I do want to stress with this as well is that this is very much a guide for the more advanced people who are watching this course. You know, we may use different campaigns for different reasons. So what I just want to do is, this is once again, just top level, the main ways that you use each of these campaigns, but I don't want you to be held to think, well, hang on, if this campaign is only here, you can only use it in those circumstances. What I just want to give is, especially when you're new and coming into Google Ads, this is the main ways that you would use each type of campaign. And also for this lesson, I'm just going to be mentioning these campaigns. When we go into the different types of lessons, you'll see more and more about how these campaigns work. So firstly, for demand gen. So with your top of funnel campaigns, it's all about demand gen, video campaigns, and display campaigns. And as you can kind of see, if you know that these campaigns, these are the campaigns which are more driven by audience and demographic targeting rather than keyword targeting. So what you're doing here is you're targeting people through images and videos through platforms like YouTube or on different websites. And rather than targeting by keywords, you're more targeting by audiences and demographics. As we move into the middle of the funnel, this is where your Performance Max and also your video campaigns and dynamic search campaigns. Now, let me explain with Performance Max. The one thing that I really remind people with Performance Max is remember that Performance Max was designed to generate more conversions. So that's why I put it in the middle of funnel. You usually don't have it as a start-off campaign or a first campaign, remembering that because with Performance Max, it's designed to generate more conversions. So you're better off adding in Performance Max once you've already got some conversions. With your video, the reason why I've also put it in the middle of the funnel, because with your video ads, you can have more ads which are just introducing. Then you can also have other ads which are more educational or taking people through the next level of sales process. And then dynamic search. Dynamic search is a search campaign, but it's not based on keyword targeting. It's based on targeting by your URLs. So that's why we put it a little bit further up in the buying process. And then when we come to your bottom of funnel campaigns, this is your search, call only search, and shopping campaigns. And these are your keyword targeted campaigns. So for your search and call only search, you're actually adding in keywords that you want to target. For your shopping, obviously, you're not adding in keywords, but the keywords are being targeted from your product title. So you are able to really add in the keyword focus in your product titles. So for your search, your call only search, and your shopping, that's what we're targeting keyword or high intent buyers who are ready to buy. And then your remarketing is by your display and your shopping campaigns. Now, let me explain this too. So you can see that your display is at the top of the funnel, but you can also do display in remarketing at the bottom of the funnel. And the reason for that is because display campaigns give you two options where you can target it to certain audiences. So for a remarketing display campaign, you can decide to target it only to website visitors or cart abandoners or product page viewers. And also with your display campaign, you can actually set it up with a shopping feed. So for e-commerce brands where it's a display campaign, but it's also only promoting your products. The same too with shopping. The reason why we put shopping down in your remarketing campaign as well is because you can set that to a targeted audiences, to target audiences who have already seen your products or even for people who are halfway through the cart process. So you can set up very particular audiences for those campaigns. All right, let's start now with the bottom of the funnel. And this is, as we said, your search campaigns. So in most cases, you'll start with a search campaign and you'll have ad groups based around stags. Remember those single theme ad groups. And if there are no clear buying intent words, you can also focus on benefit driven searches. Let me give you an example of that. A friend of mine started a baby earmuffs campaign, and this was a good 10, 12 years ago. Baby earmuffs now are quite popular for hearing, and this is sound protection. But when he started, there were no baby earmuffs designed for hearing protection. In fact, that's why he created the product. He was a drummer and he wanted to get some baby earmuffs to protect his daughter's ears when she came into his drum room, and he couldn't find any. So he created his own product. But because there wasn't any really clear search traffic for baby earmuffs, which was all around the sound hearing, what he did was we started creating search campaigns based around benefit-driven searches. So hearing protection for kids or hearing protection for babies. So that's what I mean by a benefit-driven search. So if there's no clear buying intent, focus on the benefits. Shopping campaigns. So for e-commerce brands, the common starting point for Google Ads is a search campaign combined with one or more shopping campaigns. With your shopping campaigns, you want to break your ad groups into similar products. And this can be either based around search themes, profit margins of products, or expected traffic volumes. So with your shopping campaigns, remember that the keyword focus is driven by your product titles, but sometimes you will want to move these into different ad groups dependent around, once again, mainly around search themes, but also around different profit margins of products or expected traffic volumes. And call only search campaigns, and this is for lead generation businesses that want to focus on generating more phone calls. And due to higher CPCs, you generally start with the most important services or locations. So a call-only campaign is, you may have seen this scenario before where you've seen an ad and you click on the ad and it takes you to the option to call that business straight away. That's a call-only search campaign. All right, let's move now to remarketing. As we sort of explained before, these can be your display campaigns with images. So after you've built up audiences like website visitors, you can add on a remarketing display campaign where you are only targeting people who've been to your website before. The great thing about this is that you need to remember your messaging has to be targeted for people who have already seen your core message. So with your remarketing display images, you want to make sure that you're targeting this to people who already know your brand, already know your products or services. Then there's also a display campaign, but with a feed. So if you have an active product feed, you can also set up a display campaign that can target your remarketing audiences. And what this will do is it will show two different types of images. You can add up some lifestyle images, but it also grabs the direct product feed images that you've got in your product feed. And then shopping campaigns, as we said before, the same functionality as a shopping campaign. The difference is that you can set up targeted shopping ads to only go to your remarketing audiences. And the way that you do this is that when it comes to your feed priority, you select that as a high priority. And then that means that if someone was to search a product title which had two campaigns targeting the same product, if they're part of your remarketing audience, they would see the ads from that shopping campaign. All right, let's move up to middle of the funnel campaign. So as we mentioned before, would be your Performance Max. Once again, remember Performance Max is designed to generate more conversions for your business. So for best results, start these after you already have accurate conversion tracking, because it'll target similar and related audiences to get more similar conversions. So if you've got a Google Ads account that's built up on add to cart conversions or click to email conversions, or if it's getting spammy leads or spammy conversions, if you add Performance Max, you're just going to generate more of those similar conversions. So for Performance Max, what I would be doing is I'd be holding off until you've got search or shopping campaigns converting, because the other benefit of that is then you know what ad copy converts and what website pages convert. And now let's move to video campaigns, and video campaigns work best in tandem with other campaigns. And the reason why I say that is video is a great way to expose your brand to new customers, and it's important to review the results based on a total business performance, not just what you see in Google Ads. And the reason for that is because quite often with video campaigns, you may see the video campaign not performing as well, but then when you stop the video campaign, the total account performance drops. And that's because people are sort of exposed to the video campaign. They may see your ad and then they go and complete a search and then complete the conversion in that search campaign. So when you're using video campaigns, just keep in mind that you may not see great results in your actual video campaign, but if you stopped that video campaign, it may drop down your total performance. Also with video campaigns, remember that success is reliant on the quality of your ads. As we said in an earlier module, the great thing about Google Ads is, especially when it comes to search campaign ads and shopping ads, is that everyone has to play by the same rules. And what I mean by that is that you've got the same fonts, the same font colors. So even against big multinational brands, your ads look the same. That is not true for video campaigns. So you do need to have a level of quality on your video campaigns. Doesn't have to be TV. Not saying it has to be like a masterpiece, like a blockbuster movie quality, but it needs to be a quality where people can clearly hear your audio and you've got a good script which is really calling out the main parts that what you need in your video ad. Dynamic search campaigns. So introducing dynamic search campaigns can be useful if you want to discover some new potential search themes, or if you have a large product or service inventory and you want to discover potentially profitable new searches. So remember, with dynamic search campaigns, targeting by URLs is recommended. So you need to also make sure that you have relevant information on your targeted URLs. Now, a great way that I use dynamic search campaigns is, let's just say you were an e-commerce brand and you had thousands of different SKUs, but you've got 4 or 5 core product categories that you've got specific search and shopping or performance max campaigns on, and then you've got maybe another 5 or 6 different product categories which represent, as I said, hundreds or even thousands of different SKUs. What you can do is you can create a dynamic search campaign targeting the core URLs. And then from there, what you can do is you can just see, look, are there any of these product categories which pick up and get us sales? Now, for a service-based business, a great way that you can use dynamic search campaigns, once again, is to see if there's any other potential themes. An example that we use is that we were doing a campaign for a company based in Europe, which is all about heating. And we started a dynamic search campaign. And what we noticed was we started to get a lot of conversions on this landing page, which is all about a calculator. So what it was a tool that was on the website that people would enter in the size of their room, would enter in, the square feet of the room, and that would let them know what size of heater they would have to buy. Now, we didn't realize, but this became a really, really highly profitable keyword theme. So what we started doing is we then set up other search campaigns based around that calculator keyword. So with your dynamic search campaigns, it can be a great way of you finding potentially profitable search themes that you hadn't have thought about for your business. And now let's move to the top of the funnel, and this is with demand gen. So in most cases, demand gen will only be used once you've already scaled your bottom of the funnel campaigns to a point where the CPC is becoming more expensive. So if you find a point where you just can't increase your budgets anymore, because as you increase your budget, the CPC costs increase, so it makes it, non-profitable. This is where you can add in a demand gen campaign. And what you're doing is you're expanding out your services and products to new audiences that don't know your products before. Keep in mind, the buying cycle will be longer, but it's a great way of expanding your reach if you've got extra budget to do so. One exception to the rule is it can also be used earlier for businesses who need to educate about the benefits of their product or service. Remember how earlier I was saying for your search campaigns, if you don't have a strong keyword focus or any strong buying intent keywords, you can use benefit-based keywords. Another option is that you can also use demand gen. And the reason for why this is beneficial is because it's very much going through on YouTube Shorts and also on Gmail and the Discovery Network, and it's short video ads. So as long as you've got good video ads which introduce your product or service to the market, demand gen can also be used as an earlier campaign. But what I would say there is that that's really only if you've got 2 things in place. One, you've got to have good video assets, and secondly, it's also more for those businesses who don't have a strong buying intent search traffic to really leverage at the start of their Google Ads journey. And video campaigns, so similar to top of funnel display campaigns, the difference comes through the type of messaging you're using. So what we're talking about here with display and video campaigns, now remembering that they were also down the bottom, but it can also be used to be targeting audiences by interest or affinity targeting. So rather than remarketing, you're basically grabbing people by their interest or affinity, what they're interested in or what they're searching, and you're using images and videos to introduce your products or services to new potential audiences. Also for video campaigns, there are campaigns which are called video sequence campaigns. And this is where you can take users on a journey with your messaging. And what you can do there is that you can structure out, say, for example, 3 different videos. And the third video is a sales video, but you go, before they watch the sales video, they need to see one of these 2 videos first. So that's an overview of how you can use each of the different types of campaigns. But as I said, for the rest of this module, we'll be going through and teaching you how to set up all of these campaigns in the right way.